Every year, millions of researchers attend conferences across the globe. They will spend months preparing for their posters, their presentations, attending the conference, maintaining the logistics, getting the funding. But here is the most surprising part. They know how to attend one, but they don't know how to benefit from one. You are a master's student, a research scholar who has just taken admission for a PhD, or an early career researcher. Today's video would be about everything that you need to know about academic conferences. We will cover everything in detail. Let's begin. A conference is essentially a meeting of those who are into academics. It could be research scholars, it could be faculty, it could be master's students, it could be startups conference. Who participates in it does not matter. As far as research fraternity is concerned, instead of waiting for 2 years, 3 years to get a single publication, conferences are a good way to express your ideas, to get feedback, to meet new people, and to build connection which will help you after the work is done. You can think of conferences as the social network, but not on internet, in actual life. Conferences are divided into several categories, and the parameters on which they are divided also differs. If we consider geography or location, local conferences are nothing but the institutes which are present are within a particular locality. So I'm from Goa. A local conference for me would be getting all the institutions from Goa to partner. It can be within a university, within an institution, or within a city. National conferences attract researchers from across the country. Competition is quite strong and the diversity increases. International conferences means the organizers are from multiple countries. Hence, the audience for it will also be from multiple countries. An international conference just means that its organizers, one or two of which are from outside country. That does not indicate it is of higher quality. It makes sense to judge conferences based on their reputation. Quality, the second way to understand conferences, are based on organizing body. Who organizes the conference matters. For example, universities have their own funding as far as conferences are concerned. Usually they are conducted annually. They are excellent for students because the registration fees are usually lower and it gives access to their own students as well. If you are doing PhD in a particular institute and the same institute is hosting it, then either it goes free for its own student or it is at subsidized rates. Second is professional societies also organize international national conferences. These conferences attract really specialized and niche and leading researchers in their field. Government research organizations are one of the stakeholders which organize their conferences. These conferences are usually funded by the central government. Publishers such as Springer, Taylor and Francis, IEEE, and ACM sponsors also organize conferences. Most of them are international ones. Always verify the organizer and review process. The third criteria is based on format. The pandemic that happened in 2020 changed how things worked completely. Traditional conferences are the ones where people meet each other face to face. In case of virtual conferences, everything happens online. Your travel costs disappear, registration costs are usually cheaper. Participation becomes really easier considering that there is no location boundaries. However, networking in these kind of events becomes really tough. It's much difficult to build meaningful relationship through a computer screen. Hybrid conferences combine both the worlds. Some participants attend physically, some will join remotely. This particular format is increasingly becoming popular because it gives accessibility as well as person-to-person interactions, and relationships also get preserved. The fourth criteria is based on purpose. Now, what is the end goal of that conference? The name will differ accordingly. Research conference is something most researchers attend. You submit research, peer review takes place. They will inform you whether your poster or your abstract has got selected. Proceedings may be published depending on the kind of organizer, which is simple. A symposium usually focuses on a single specialized topic. Instead of covering an entire discipline, it explores explores a specific research area in greater depth. You can think of it as a focused scientific discussion. A workshop is designed for learning rather than presenting accomplished work. It is usually revolving around either a particular technique or a particular experiment or a particular analysis. A software package that you need a tutorial to learn on, a hands-on practical on laboratory technique. It is difficult to handle it. An AI tool or a statistical method you need some information on before executing. All this is covered in a workshop rather than a conference. Seminars usually involve one or more speakers sharing their knowledge about a particular subject or a niche area. Audience interaction is there, but it is usually limited. You can actually think of them as educational events. A colloquium is typically organized within universities. Researchers present their ongoing work to faculty and other students. The atmosphere is usually informal. The primary objective is discussion and getting feedback on the work that you are doing. A doctoral consortium is same as colloquium. Here, the researchers who would be presenting are specifically research scholars, whether they are working in part-time or full-time PhDs. So anyone who is undergoing a PhD will participate in a doctoral consortium. Doctoral students present ongoing work. Professors give constructive feedback on their work. Students meet peers from different universities. Future collaborations actually begin over here. If you are planning to take admission for a PhD, if your department hosts a doctoral consortium, do not forget to participate over there. What are the different terms and definitions that you need to remember while attending a conference? Everything begins with something called as CFP, call for papers. So whenever organizers organize a conference at any level, whether it is domestic, international, national, there is something that needs to be put out, call for papers. You can think of it as an invitation. Call for papers usually have the following thing: conference themes, what is the area or discipline on which it is based, what are the important dates, what are the submission guidelines, what kind of topics are accepted, what are the formatting guidelines, the review process. An abstract is your research in miniature. If you have already published paper, then also you know what an abstract is, you can submit that only. If you have not published any publication, then also you can participate in a conference. It is not necessary that you have to have a published paper to participate in a conference. What you can do is, whatever research you are doing, condense it into a 200-word paragraph and send it as an abstract. Once it gets accepted, you will have to prepare a presentation or a poster depending on that. If you want a video on how to write an abstract to be sent for conferences, then you can let me. The next is extended abstract. So when I submitted to one of the journals, not a conference, one of the journals, they had asked for an extended abstract. So the usual abstract is 200 to 250 words ka. An extended abstract will have at least 350 to 450 word ka margin. It contains more details than a standard abstract and less than a publication. A full paper is your complete research article. Mind you, here we are not dealing with review articles, we are dealing with original research articles. It has introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, future scope, everything that is usually there in a paper. I have done this video on how to write your first publication. Some conferences review abstracts. Some will review original full research article. So when you are going through call for papers for any conferences, it is better to understand what they are asking for. Peer review is a process which happens after your submission. Experts in the field evaluate the abstract and they will go for originality. Usually it is examined on 4 categories. First, methodology. What kind of methods is used? The experts know what is there in the literature, so they will contrast it against what they already know. Scientific quality, clarity, and contribution. Okay, a lot of grants these days and a lot of fellowship operate on evaluation based on contribution rather than methodology. Based on experts' recommendation, your paper gets accepted, rejected, or they ask for revisions. Next are proceedings, and here is when most students get confused. Conference proceedings are nothing but a collection of accepted conference papers. You submit an abstract, it gets accepted, you present over there or you give a poster presentation. After that, the organizers will compile it in a book, and that book is called as conference proceedings. Your abstract or your paper getting published in a conference proceedings is not the same as publishing in a journal. Some of the organizers are really high end and they have contacts with most of the publishers. So what they will do is they will publish conference proceedings in index databases such as Scopus, such as Web of Science, and so on and so forth. But that is optional and that depends on organizers. Every major conference invites distinguished experts for speaking at the conference. Okay, you will have students or researchers also presenting their work. You will have already established people presenting their work over there. Their talk does not focus on one research paper or one finding because they are already experts. They are probably guiding several students at a time. So their talk involves future developments, important challenges within the field, and what are the different directions that this particular work can take. Every presentation has something called a session chair. Session chair will manage all the talks which are present, introducing the speakers, managing time, moderating questions, keeping discussions organized are some of the responsibilities handled by session chair. You are given 12 minutes to present your work. You better finish it in 12 minutes, or it is the responsibility of the session chair to interrupt and to make sure things work on time. Parallel sessions are nothing but when large conferences cannot accommodate, say, 1,000 delegates in one room. They will conduct several sessions parallelly. Say if I'm interested in a topic, I will not be interested in other topics related under the theme of the same conference. So I can go to this particular room and others can go to this room. It is basically done to manage the area as well as number of people. Poster sessions. Now there are two ways by which a researcher showcases their work to the audience. First is a presentation. You go on the stage and you will give a presentation to all those who are sitting over here. Here there is more visibility. Second are posters. You put all your work in a poster, in a digital poster, print it out, take the hard copy and you take it to the conference, and you have all the other students presenting their posters as well. All the delegates and the experts will come and they will ask questions related to it. I will do a dedicated video on how to make a poster for a conference in my upcoming videos. A track is nothing but when large conferences divide the areas under the conference. For example, say suppose there is a conference on artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a really broad topic. AI can be used in multiple research works, right? A conference now gets divided into machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, robotics, generative AI. All these come under artificial intelligence only, but they are kind of subtopics. All these sessions will happen simultaneously. You submit your work to that track which best matches your research. Camera ready paper is nothing but once your abstract gets accepted, mostly there are usually few minor revisions, whether it respect to formatting or different other details depending on the organizers. So they will ask for the final version. That final version that you submit after the revision is done, that is called as a camera ready paper. It includes all the revisions given by the reviewers and follows conference formatting exactly. You can think of it as the version that will actually get published. Many conferences reward exceptional research through awards. Then there can be Best Poster Award, Best Presentation Award. Awards are bonuses. Your intention should be learning and how to make the best use of the visibility that you are getting. Understanding all these terminologies as someone who has taken admission for PhD or a master student or even a early career researcher really helps not in getting confused and in getting offended once you reach there. How do you actually choose the right conference? This is really important. So the first criteria is it relevant to your work? It makes no sense if you are working, you will attend conference on tissue culture. It does not make sense at all. Does it have a good reputation? A lot of professional societies, a lot of organizations have inbuilt reputation. If you know that organizers belong to these, whether it is a national, local or an international conference, you can be rest assured that the quality will be good. Is there a genuine peer review? What kind of evaluation is taking place backstage? That should be informed on call for papers. And fourth, the thing that resonates with me personally the most and something I look for is it worth your investment. When you are attending conference, the return is not always money. It has to be increased visibility. What kind of connections am I making over there? What kind of people I made? Conferences require time as well as money. There is funding which exists for conference, but not everyone gets it. So mostly you are spending from your own pocket. Hence, it better be valuable enough that you spend that much amount as well as that valuable time. How do you actually find the conferences? So the first method and the best one is asking your supervisor. They already know what is going on in the field. They already have access to organizers. So it makes sense to ask them. Second method is to look at published research papers. A lot of the times organizers proceed with publishing this conference proceedings in a journal. So if you find a journal article and on the title page you find a disclaimer that this particular work was presented earlier at so and so conference, it shows that the organizers are reputed. They can go beyond the conference to benefit you. Almost every discipline has professional societies. So usually the conferences conducted by professional societies, they are really niche, they are specialized, the experts know what they are talking about. University websites are other ways. You are in a particular state, you don't want to go outside, then you can check for university brochures or their websites to check what kind of conferences or proceedings are going on there. Your own research network, your colleagues, as your academic network grows and expands, you also realize that the opportunities that you get also expand. You stop searching for conferences and conferences start finding you. Collaborators invite you to submit papers. Google Scholar is also one of the ways to find it. If you check the recent papers, if you filter by year, you realize some of the papers were already being presented by particular society or in particular conferences. So you can check those. ResearchGate and LinkedIn, these are also really good platforms on finding the right conferences for you. Once you enroll in a PhD, you will not have any problem in finding conferences. Your academic network will get the conferences to you. One important thing that I want to speak about is being careful with email invitations. Nowadays, I call them predatory conferences. It is just a move to attract funding from UGC. They will invite you and directly the email comes like you are invited to be a keynote speaker. You are doing your PhD, you haven't got your degree and you are invited for a keynote speaker. This should actually ring the bell in your head. Good conferences don't invite everyone. They'll attract researchers through reputation. Let's understand the different steps and processes involved in a conference right from the start to the end. First, a conference announcement goes out. It usually has conference dates, venue, conference theme, submission deadline, topics, registration details. Then soon after the announcement comes call for papers. Remember this from the previous section. Here the topics accepted, paper format, word limits, submission portal, important deadlines. So this particular announcement is specific to submissions. Then you have preparing your research. Now the real work begins. You have to decide which work will go into the poster or the presentation. You are doing a lot of work in your lab or in the field. Now which of that is suitable for presentation in a conference, that you will know. Then you begin with writing the abstract. I'll do a separate video on it. You can stick to a word limit of 200 to 250 words. Your abstract will decide whether the selection will happen or no. So be really careful and neat and well prepared with your abstract. Most of the conferences use a submission portal. It is online or they can ask you to mail it. It involves 4 things. First, your abstract or paper. Okay, usually at this stage, it would be abstract only. Second, author details. Third, affiliation, in which institute or university you are pursuing this research. Keywords relevant to your abstract. If you go to any journal article, you will see keywords under the abstract. Always double check while submitting because a lot of rejections happen not because the research was bad, but actually the person submitted a wrong file. Then you have the peer review. At this stage, you can't do much but to continue your research. It does not make sense to wait for the peer reviewers because they will take their own sweet time to go through the work and to revert back. Then you will get a decision whether it is accepted or they have asked for revisions or rejection. Once your acceptance happens of your abstract, whether whether it is for poster or for presentation. Then the registration happens. So registration typically involves paying the fee, planning your accommodation, travel arrangement. A lot of the times conference venue is associated with the institute, so they have their own guest house and travel arrangement. If not, you have to make your own. Once your registration is done, you will now prepare a poster or a presentation depending on what thing you have applied to. Then attending the conference, you finally arrive on the day of the conference, asking questions, meeting researchers, giving your opinions, taking feedbacks, and last but not the least, good food. This is also a part and hallmark of a good conference. Once the conference is done, researchers think the process ends. But here are 3 things that you can do. First, connect with people whom you have met at the conference and ask if there are future opportunities. Second is whatever bills you have used, whatever expenditure you have used, it makes sense to document it. You can actually apply for a travel grant. Give a presentation about your visit in the conference. Understanding the timeline really helps in preparing you as a researcher who is attending the conference for the first time. Here is how peer review happens. Single blind review. The reviewers know who the participants are, but the participant does not know who is evaluating. Double blind review. Neither the participant know about the reviewer, nor does the reviewers get to know about the authors. And open review is when some conferences share the names of the reviewers openly and transparently. This approach is less common, but it encourages transparency. Here are 3 myths that researchers have about attending conference. International conferences are better than national or local conferences. Not necessarily true. A lot of the time, international conferences are organized to avail of the funding that the central government or different professional societies give. An international conference just means at least one or more than that organizers are from abroad. Second is conference papers equal to journal papers. Not true at all. A conference paper is much shorter. It has faster publication because the organizers of the conference only are organizing it. It has early research findings and it is usually presented at a conference. Organizer, out of their own will, may publish it in the journal. The conference proceedings, which are published in the book, may later get published in a journal. But that is completely optional and most of the conference organizers do not do it. Third one is networking is only for extrovert. This is where my introverts come into play. If you feel that going to conference will expose you or people will say anything, let me tell you one. Everyone here has same insecurities as yours. As an introvert, your job is to be present. It is not necessary that you speak to anyone. It is not necessary that you present. Even if you are going to attend, be present. Conferences are a great way, not just for networking, but also to absorb and to know what future challenges are coming in that field. Every conference requires transportation, lodging, and registration fees, which scholars have to spend from their own pocket. So it makes sense to see if there is funding available. I have done these 2 videos about it. They discuss grants and fellowships, especially for attending conferences as well as presenting in it. Do not forget to check it out and I'll see you over there.